All right, we are live. Office Hours, episode 2. I'm sorry, I just realized as I was hopping on that I think I put the sticker wrong on my live earlier. Carter, what's up, brother? I loved the stuff you just posted with Diggs. I guess that assumes you were in the Buffalo game this weekend, because that had to be really cold. So don't know if you're working any playoff games this weekend, but best of luck to you. Carter is in NFL LCC based out of Cleveland. So welcome everyone. Office Hours episode 2. We've got people starting to cruise on in. And if you missed last week, Office Hours is this new Instagram live series that I'm starting, just based on, I get a lot of great questions from people over the years about sports photography, videography, media, branding. Don't always get back to people in the timely manner that I want. So I figured, why not start a live series just to connect with you guys more. And you can ask questions similar to how a professor in school or whatnot, a career guide, you can pop in, ask questions, figure out, where you want to go. I hope I can be a resource for you guys all watching at home. So that is the concept of Office Hours. This is episode 2. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We've got a few more people trickling in here. I'll be doing this weekly on Fridays around 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. So make sure you guys keep tuning in, and would love to answer all of your questions. I'm going to give a few guys some wave. We got some waves coming in. Oh, and Carter said he was in Buffalo. So man, welcome. You have now been indoctrinated into the cold weather club. I did the Seahawks Vikings game a couple years ago in the -6, and that was definitely the coldest I've ever been. So I'm sure you got to experience that in Buffalo the other night. So I got a couple pre-questions, and I have my computer here, so I'm going to be looking at that. I'll go ahead and get started on. This one is from R. Miller Video. He asked about, what's your favorite Ronin gimbal? I noticed you use a few of them. And so I've really only used the Ronin S the last year or so. And I've also used a Movi Pro as far as gimbals. I'm probably not the best gimbal operator. If you're really looking for top gimbal people, you should check out Motion State. They're a company based here, and their gimbal work is phenomenal, here being Seattle. I would say, just in my experience for what I've done, the Movi Pro is awesome. If you have a focus puller and an assistant, it's really rigged for, I would say, like probably traditional narrative commercial work. It's heavy. If your camera does have autofocus on it, it makes it a little bit easier. But I shot a commercial here at the Met Grill in Seattle with it on the Canon C500. And even that, the autofocus is still a little tricky, because if you try to touch the screen, you kind of throw the balance off. So, but the Movi Pro is awesome. And I would say the Ronin S is great for, especially if you're using a DSLR, or the Ronin SC, if you're using a smaller camera, is another great option. And I haven't used the Ronin S2 yet, but I've heard great things about it. And so I'm hoping to put that to use. So those are probably the 2 gimbals that I would recommend. Let's see, I had a couple questions also coming in here. Oh, this one is great. This one I was actually thinking about beforehand. It says, what's the best possible way to reach out to a mentor? And I've been thinking a lot about this. I was thinking about it earlier when I saw the question come in. I thought, I wrote down who it's from. This is from Alicia, and I would say, honestly, after thinking about it, I would say probably first start with LinkedIn. I've dove in pretty hard to LinkedIn in the last year, both as like being a content sharer and just from a networking perspective. I feel like it's just a very professional place to connect with people and to speak about what you're looking for. To be honest, I've had a few people message me on Instagram kind of saying they wanted to connect, but the areas are just kind of vague, I guess, in what they're looking for. And I think even sometimes some of the asks are not crazy realistic. You know, I think people try to shoot their shot and say they wanted to film a game with me or whatnot, which, you know, no intent, but like the reality of making that happen is very slim. It's not even just a personal thing. It's just logistics and all of that. But I think if you're pretty clear on what you can bring to the table and also provide value potentially to that mentor, I think you have a really good shot at reaching out to someone. So I would definitely start with LinkedIn. And then if you don't have any luck there, I think also if you can somehow obtain a personal email address, that would be my 2 suggestions. So I hope that was helpful. Make sure you guys send in your questions. I'll be answering them here the next little bit. I'll wave back to you guys. Nico's in here. What's up, Nico? Josh is in here. Will you film a playoff game now, even though the Hawks are out? I don't have any plans to right now. If the NFL calls, I'll definitely figure something out. I'm trying to think. I have done the Super Bowl the last couple years. I don't think I'm going to be doing it this year, unfortunately, but that's okay. Shooting the Super Bowl is a ton of fun, but with COVID and everything, it has made it quite the interesting experience. Let's see here. Okay, favorite camera to use. Oop. Let's see here. I'm not sure why that one's not working. Okay, how difficult is it switching between your Canon setups and the Red? I would say it's difficult in the sense that like they're both used for very different tools. And so the Canon for me is normally the C200 is what I'm shooting on, the 1DX Mark III for still photography and video too. Those are very much run and gun. For the LCC work I do and sending clips in real time, the Canon really for me is unmatched, along with the Blackmagic 6K Pro. Those are kind of my 2 main workhorse run and gun cameras. The Red is one, it's phenomenal. The image, everything is just absolutely beautiful, but there is a lot that goes into it. The media, it takes up a ton of media when you're shooting. I mean, you could probably shoot a game and not shoot under a terabyte unless you're really compressing the footage, which for in post-production can just be a lot. And so I would say I guess my 2 schools of thoughts between these 2 setups would be for Canon, if you're sending real time, you need really fast edits, then I would definitely go that route. Say you have some time to go through the edit process, your different clips, the Red setup really is unmatched for the image quality. Oh, great question here coming from Birdie on color matching. And so with different cameras. So generally I try not to shoot different cameras as much as possible, or if I am, I generally try to keep it consistent all with one brand. So like if we're shooting with Canon, I try to make sure that all the Canon cameras are being used for that, because to be honest, it is pretty hard to match them. There's a lot of great tools out there. Let me look this up real quick. Camera. I haven't actually used it yet. I bought some other things for it. Oh yeah, Cinematch. So I've explored it because it is actually a really hard thing to do. This is a plugin for Premiere, DaVinci, and Final Cut. Supposedly you can just like drag and drop which camera you're using on it, and it's supposed to match it. I haven't actually used it yet, so I can't fully recommend it, but I do know that is a tricky thing. The other trick you can do is if you're using Premiere Pro. Hey, what's up, my guy Penny Hart? If you're using Premiere Pro, there is like a match function in the color section. And so if you use that, it does help match. It gets it a little bit closer, and then you can dial it in manually. But Canon or color matching, color is its own thing in itself, and so I know that's not a very easy subject to tackle. I had one other quick one come in. This is from Edwin. What college did you go to and what did you major in? So I actually went to the University of Tampa. Actually went for baseball. I was a baseball player growing up, and they thankfully had a great media arts program. I was always into media arts. I majored originally for physical science to be in fitness training, but then switched to media arts later on, as that was really my love and passion. I had a camera in my hand since I was a kid. And so that's kind of quick story of my school. Do you know what camera Fox started using last year to celebrate close-ups? Yes, I actually did a YouTube video on this, Austin Bernard 97. You can check that out on my channel where I break it down. I think they've come a long way since that original setup that they have, but they were using a Sony A7R4, I believe, on a gimbal, and then they're transmitting that back into the truck. Really first of its kind, great innovation that we've seen over time. And then I noticed this season, I believe they moved up into the Sony FX series. They actually had a lot bigger cameras than the small DSLRs. I did notice like the more regional games, they had smaller, probably some sort of Sony SLR on there, and then like the bigger networks, Monday Night Football, different thing, Thursday Night Football, they actually had the Sony Venice on there. So it's pretty cool to see what they've done with the technology the last few years. I mean, this DSLR technology has been around for a long time, so to see broadcast finally start to embrace it and provide just a little bit different angle of shots, it's just been really cool to see as a content creator. Let's see here. I don't know why these aren't letting me share these on the screen here. All right. Made by Marquise. What does it take to get your position because your job is a dream? Marquise, yes, I would definitely agree with you. My job definitely is a dream. Beyond blessed to be able to do what I get to do. And I would just say a couple things. What it takes is a lot of hustle, a lot of being willing to do things that others aren't, whether it's stay up late on an edit, travel, sacrifice time with your family, holidays, events, sports is not easy in that place, as to where the schedule is always going no matter what's happening in the world. So it does take a lot of that. And then I would say also just honing in your craft, whether it's social media, videography, photography. I think really being able to separate yourself and hone in the skills from the technical side, and really try to incorporate all of those things into your skill set to really make you a Swiss Army knife in this space. You can't go wrong with making yourself more marketable by being able to have a variety of different skills and be really good at them. And then I would say the last thing is, like, we're all in the creative business, right? But you're in the business of people too. And so just being able to have personal relationships with people, grow your network that way, and just be personable, especially with athletes and talent. Those are difficult relationships to kind of grow and foster, obviously, because it's just a high pressure, high stakes environment. And so the more you can just be personable, be professional with those types of people, I think the farther that you'll be able to go. So great question. I'm going to wave back at you guys. Thanks for the hearts. I hope that was helpful. Appreciate the love that's coming in. Let's get to another question. When will you start a photography class? Oh, that's a good one. Probably first one. I've never actually considered it. Maybe I didn't know if anyone would actually take it. So the fact that people would be potentially interested in taking a photography class from me is very humbling, first of all. But also I'd have to really think about what I want to teach, what I want to share. So I'd be curious from you guys, say I were to start a photography class, what you would be interested in, what you would want to learn, how that could help you, how that could help grow your career. I would be super interested to hear what you guys think about that. And speaking of that, Seattle Earthling, when did you start photography? So I've always had a video camera in my hand forever. And really since I was a kid, messing with my parents' video camera, and then did video forever. I would say in about 2010, I started getting into photography just because there was so much crossover between video and photography. And so I really just on YouTube started to teach myself how to operate a camera. The very first camera I got was the Canon 60D. I learned how to shoot both photo and video. Actually started wedding photography was kind of my very first. I know there's a lot of people that have started in that back in Florida. Those were kind of my first side gigs doing photography. And then from there, I just got really lucky with NBC Sports, right as social digital was really emerging, especially from the NFL sidelines. I got thrown onto NFL sidelines pretty quickly and had to learn how to use the camera at NFL game speed. So that was just a really fast transition into sports. Got some more people coming in. Got a request for Josh Cashman, aka Cable Thanos, to bring back the hype videos. That's a big request. I'm hoping that is seen through. Let's see here. A couple. Man, I don't know why it's letting me not share some of these. Oh, right there. Josh Cashman says he'll do it. What camera do you recommend for football videography, a little photography lens for a rookie, and a good price? It's hard because it's changing a lot, right? And I do have some of this on my YouTube channel, so make sure you check it out. It really comes down to, like I said, what you want to spend, right? A good price to one person could be under $1,000. A good price to someone else could be $3,000. There's really kind of like no set way. There's different options for multiple people. I think really any type of, in my personal experience, like a Canon starter kit is honestly where I started. Something that has good quality 1080p video, maybe 4K, has a great kit lens, somewhere between 100, 200 millimeter focus. That way, at least can get something on the field. I assume if you're starting out, you're probably shooting in daylight, so you don't need the fastest lens. And so actually something I have recommended, it is a little bit older now, but I have this here, Canon M6 Mark II. You can see the link on my YouTube channel. It's been a great camera because, like I said, it shoots 1080, it shoots 4K, it's a crop sensor, 32 megapixel pictures, and with the kit lens, it's usually right between $850 to $1,100 depending on what you're buying. I actually shot a playoff game with this a couple years ago, and you can see that video on my YouTube channel. All right, any more questions coming in? What do you guys think so far, office hours? Are you a fan? Anything else you want to see? Any other questions content wise? I think at some point I would love to do potentially a couple portfolio reviews with you guys. Kind of share with me your content and I can take a look at it. I don't know that I'll be able to offer a ton of great advice, but hopefully maybe a little something for you to take on your way. Let's see if we have any other questions. What's your favorite game you shot? Oh boy, that is a very tough question. I did the math actually recently. I believe I've shot over 100 games total in my career, which is just incredible. Would never have thought I'd be able to shoot that many NFL games. I would say like what comes to mind really fast is the Super Bowl, Minnesota. The couple things. One, the game was insane. I happened to be right in the end zone where the Philly special was. So that was a really special shot. I got Nick Foles catching the touchdown pass from Trey Burton. The atmosphere was just wild, the back and forth. I think there was only like one punt in the whole game. And then for me personally too, I'm a huge Justin Timberlake fan. And to be able to watch his halftime show was just incredible up close. And I actually have like a really cool experience from that. Before that game, I was working with NBC. NBC had the Super Bowl that year, and I had left to go join Russ's team, which was amazing, best decision. And unfortunately, the Seahawks didn't make it to the Super Bowl that year. But because Russ knew that shooting the Super Bowl was very important to me, he actually surprised me and got me a credential for the Super Bowl to shoot for NFL social and digital. And so I think I would say that one just all around with the story, that, amazing gesture from Russ, the game, Justin Timberlake halftime, my very first Super Bowl. I'd say that's probably my favorite game and something that I hold near and dear to my heart. All right. Uncle G first. If you want to start doing videography, what's the best class or college class to take, or what's the best steps? Great question. So I would say for me, one of the thing that changed the game for me was taking an editing class in college, because I'm sure all of you know when you open an editing software, it's very intimidating, right? It looks like the Matrix or something. And so for me, the way my editing class was structured, we were shooting our own projects, but then also editing previously shot footage. And just being in the software every day just gave me a ton of comfortability. And I really saw my editing skills grow tremendously from that. So I would definitely, if your school offers an editing class, really look to take that to the next level, because I think editing, there's a couple different ways you can go with editing. One, editing is just a great skill to have if you want to shoot your own content and then edit it. And then with that, editing teaches you as a shooter how to think like an editor. So that for me has been a game changer, where when I'm going to shoot a shot, I think about either one, would I use this in the edit, or how do I see this fitting into the edit? And so I couldn't recommend an editing class enough. And then I'm not sure what what schools are offering these days, but one, either some sort of like storytelling production, how to tell a story. That's a universal skill that you'll have across whatever industry, whatever you decide to do. And then some sort of, I don't know if it's a cinematography, I'm not sure, like I said, what schools offer now, but being able to just get out in the field, use a camera, get comfortable with it, I would probably look into those three classes. So great question. It's from R. Miller Video. Do you stick to a specific focal length when shooting a game, or is it a situation from the perspective on the field? That's a great question, R. Miller Video. So couple things. I like to do, I would say I really mix it up pre-game and then in-game. For pre-game, I do my best to try to get the audience to feel as close to the action as possible. And while I love different zooms, for me, just the way my personal taste, I love the way that prime lenses look for sports, especially when you're allowed to get close up, just the beautiful depth of field that it provides. And so that Canon 85 millimeter 1.4, I absolutely love. It has IS built into it. I try to use that because it's obviously a little bit farther of a lens, or it's not a wide lens, but I can get closer to the action with it, but also keep a safe distance away from the players and when the action's going on. And so
I would say pregame I use a lot. I say 24-105 with IS is huge because I'm mostly handheld. 85 millimeter 1.4 IS are kind of my go-tos, and then a 50-1.2 is what I like for pregame. In game, I've done a whole bunch of different focal lengths. I would say 70-200 is kind of the bread and butter main key. You really can't go wrong with it. It does get a little tricky in the end zone. So sometimes what I do is I'll have my main camera on the ground, and then I have an SLR on my hip with a 24-105. And if I have time in the end zones, I'll switch those out just to get a little bit wider view for touchdowns. But 70-200, you really can't go wrong. The other thing I've used is the Sigma 100 or 120-300, and that's a great lens. It provides really close ups. And then on the photography side, a 200 to 400 millimeter is a dream. Shooting still photography, it's a little hard on video to use, and then a 400 prime or 600 prime photography wise is just incredible. All right, any more questions? We got a few more minutes here. So with that, favorite camera to use during the game. So I got really hooked on the Blackmagic 6K Pro this season. I used the C200 the last couple of years. I still think that's a phenomenal camera, especially because LCC wise, I can just pop the card in my camera and send it off via Slack. Blackmagic 6K Pro, you got to take one step further, where I'm using a CFast card. I shoot 1080p with the LUT baked in. That way the file's still a little bit smaller and ready to go from a send-off perspective. And I don't know, the built-in NDs is a game changer, and then the flip screen. So I have it on the ground, and then I can just flip it up on the screen. Speaking of motion state, Bubba just joined. Probably one of the best movie ops in the Seattle area, if not the whole industry. I don't know if he's on vacation right now still, but make sure he just joined there. So make sure you check him out for those of you who are asking about gimbal work, because he is awesome. He's pretty good at golf too. Oh man. All right. A few more questions here and we'll wrap up for today. All right, we got one from Josh Cashman, fellow content creator. Favorite project you've ever done with West to East and Russ? That's another really tough question. I would say the first that comes to mind is probably a cleat release video we did in 2019, the Alpha Menace. Don't know if you've seen it. We should definitely check it out. I'm pretty sure it's on my Instagram. But we brought in one of my good friends, TK McCamey, who's a big time commercial and music video director, and we kind of just went really rogue and guerrilla and created this awesome commercial with the idea of kids playing flag football. Russ crashes the game of flag football at this construction site, and they get to play a game is kind of the short of it. But it was just an overall amazing experience. Our friends at Motion State, who I mentioned, brought their RC car for some ground shots. My buddy John, who's a DP, brought in his Sony Venice that we used for the very first time. And so it just really it kind of brought me back to school, and just that scrappy, let's make it come together. We're all in on the project. And then the final project, I mean, it looked like a very huge commercial spot. And what we were able to do with the limited amount of resources we have, we were just super proud of it. All right. A few more questions. Another one from R. Miller Video. I currently own a Canon 7D with a handful of lenses. I bought a GH4 after multiple recommendations and a good deal. Problem is now I have no Panasonic lenses. Do you recommend EF mount adapters? So R. Miller Video, I actually had the GH4 for a while as well. Not sure if you're shooting stills or video on it. I only own one of the Panasonic lens. I think it's a 12-35. Just because that's like equivalent to a 24-70 on that camera. I had an EF mount adapter that I use quite a bit, so I can definitely recommend it. If you're shooting stills, I'd probably recommend going with something that's a little more native, especially for autofocus. But if you're doing video and just using manual focus, I would probably it'd be okay to use EF mounted glass. All right, this seems like a good one to end on from Daniel Pord. How'd you get started in this field? Yeah, so that's a big question too. So like I said, I've always loved video since I was a kid. I was, using my parents' video camera. I was editing on my laptop, on my PC, on Windows Movie Maker. So it's something I've always been passionate about to start. I did the TV show morning announcements in high school, but I was an athlete first. So I wanted to be a baseball player. That was my dream. That didn't quite work out from an injury perspective. And so I kind of just stumbled into this sports content, sports media space afterwards. And for me, it was just a great way to still be connected to sports, even though I wasn't playing, unfortunately. It still kind of gave that rush of being on the field. And so that's kind of a basic view of how I got started into sports. Actually, I have a video on my YouTube channel as well, kind of getting into the specifics on how I got connected with Russ and West East Empire. So make sure you check that out. But I would say, really, if you're just starting out, I've said it a couple times now, but really just kind of hone in your technical skills, both from an editing, shooting, producing, learning how to tell a story, and then from there, just building out your portfolio with different pieces. So that way, when the time comes, you have something to present, a body of work that shows that, you can operate a camera, you can take pictures, you can edit, different things like that. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap up office hours for today. I know you guys are busy. It's the weekend. Got to get back to work here. Just wanted to pop in and do episode 2 of Office Hours. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I think I mentioned last week I did do I read Bob Iger's book. I finally finished it, Ride of a Lifetime, which I cannot recommend enough. I did my latest posts on some of my takeaways, so make sure you check that out on my Instagram. And then the next book up is Will Smith's biography. I started it last night, and the first chapter was incredibly gripping. So I'm excited to finish that one and see what I can share with you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in to Office Hours, episode 2. We'll be here on Fridays around 1 o'clock every week, hopefully. I'll let you know if it changes, but appreciate all of you guys tuning in, asking questions. I hope this is helpful for you, and look forward to connecting with you guys more in 2022.